Good morning, folks. I'm gonna go for a ride. I'm gonna talk to you about an idea I have. I've been thinking about this. I got my fatty all ready to go, pre-flight done. Still working on my canopy. My sun top is actually a canopy, and I'll tell you why. I laced the top. I need to finish it out still. This is what I want to talk about right here, the side shields that I put on. I'm still working on them. I have an idea. Let's go on a ride and I'll tell you about it. All right, let's get in this bad boy. Close my canopy on my fat Tad. My fat Taddy, my fatty Tad. So I don't know if you've been watching my videos, but I affectionately call this my fatty. I think that's what mechanics and Air Force guys do. Street rodders, hot rodders, they get, I wouldn't call it affection, but they get attached to their aircraft as a crew chief member, as a mechanic working on stuff. If you're building a car, or you're building a bike, or you're building a trike, guys like me get attached to their stuff. It's like you got a street rodder and he puts a $10,000 paint job. He's real touchy about who gets around it. Anyway, I'm kind of that way with this trike. I spend every day working on it and riding it. So, being in the Air Force, I've been around airplanes. I've loved airplanes since I was a little kid. I grew up as an Air Force brat. My dad worked in the Air Force before I was born. All of Vietnam, we were deployed. We actually went and I started school in Okinawa, Kadena. My dad worked on KC-135s, B-52s. We went to Michigan, lived at Wart Smith Air Force Base, KC-135s. They had 105s there, and in the earlier days they had F-100s. I grew up around airplanes and being around flight lines. And I've always had, I remember when I was a kid, we were at Kadena off base, and we lived off base in NCO housing. And my dad pointed out in the sky, you see that airplane taking off, and you could see the afterburners, and it would go almost vertical up through off the Pacific Ocean up into the clouds. What that aircraft turned out to be was an SR-71. They used to fly out of Kadena. Back in those days, in the 60s, that was like a big deal. The Habu, the Blackbird. I had an affinity towards World War II aircraft as a kid. I used to build models. I've always had an attachment to aircraft. And then I joined the Air Force when I was a young man. Got attached to a fighter wing. Flew A-7s. And then later we got F-16s, fighter, and I've been around F-18s, I've been around F-15s, I've been around A-10s, I've been around numerous aircraft, Navy and Air Force, because we did joint force jump jets with the Brits, RAF, flew with Germans, we did stuff together with the Germans, Singaporean, all these different fighters and all these different airplanes, and went to the NCO Academy and went to school with guys that flew for the Triple Nickel and flew for all these different outfits, all these different fighter wings and squadrons that had their insignias on their airplanes, and you could always tell who these guys were. Even though we all flew similar aircraft, you could always tell who they were by looking at the tail fin. Well, in the early days of aircraft, starting in World War I, airmen, back in those days it was the Army Air Corps, these guys were going off to die. A lot of them didn't live, so they got close to their aircraft, and the Air Force, excuse me, the Army Air Corps let them paint the insignias on their airplanes. Different aircraft that they flew, the Curtis's and all these early aircraft, they let them paint art on their fabric. Right, let's start this bad boy up. Anyway, I was saying, I've always had an affinity towards aircraft and nose art, and in the early days, the art started at the midsection of the fuselage, and towards World War II it moved to the nose. One of my favorite aircraft is the P-40 Warthog Flying Tiger. That is a neat airplane. I really like that airplane. P-51 Mustang, love that aircraft. There's a bunch of them. P-38 Lightning, a bunch of different airplanes. Thunderbolt, I loved all those aircraft. Modern aircraft, I'm having an affinity to the F-16. I've actually flown in one, broke the sound barrier over White Sands, and did 9 Gs in one when I got my retirement flight from when I retired from the Air Force. Flew in an A-7 on an attack bomb run, and that was a lot of fun. And then I flew in the Civil Air Patrol for many, many years, almost 20 years. Flew extensively in a T-34 and put a lot of hours in on that aircraft. So over the years I've grown an affinity towards aircraft. But anyway, the nose art came into effect, and actually the shark's mouth, and I have an affinity towards the P-40 Warthog Flying Tiger, actually has a shark's mouth on the front of it. They call it the Flying Tiger, but it's a shark's mouth. So that's the nose art that I like the best. This trike reminds me of a certain aircraft in the Air Force that I was around. It reminds me of an aircraft because of what it does, not what it looks like, but the function of the trike. So there's an aircraft that I was around a lot, and that aircraft is an A-10 Warthog, a Thunderbolt 2 A-10. And the reason this trike reminds me of that aircraft is because the A-10 Warthog Warthog's a name they gave it because it's down in the dirt. It's in the weeds. It goes after tanks, and it's just low and slow, and just down in the desert, in the canyons, looking for tanks. It's a beast. It's a workhorse. It's bulky. It's slow, and it's strong. It's armored, and it's got, you know, a big old Gatling gun on the front, and it's a wicked machine. This truck reminds me of that aircraft. So I think the new name I'm going to give my fatty is Warthog. That's what I'm gonna call this trike, because that's what I do. Yeah, it's a fat tad. Yeah, it's a Sunseeker. That's not enough. Me and this trike are modified. We're taking it to a new level. So I'm gonna call this the Warthog because it's in the dirt. So what I'm gonna do is I've been planning this for a while. As I built my canopy and I put these sunshades on the side. So as I built this canopy and put these side shields on, I started looking at that. I started thinking, why not do some nose art on this thing? It doesn't look like a Warthog A-10 Thunderbolt. It reminds me of one. So I ordered the shark's mouth that was originally developed for the Warhawk back in World War II, the Curtiss Warhawk. And they got the shark's teeth mouth on the front of that aircraft on a lot of them, not all of them. They had different nose art, but the Flying Tigers is the ones that started that. It didn't have a tiger's mouth. It had a shark's mouth on the Flying Tiger. It looked cool. I thought it was neat when I was a kid. But there's a squadron that flies that same kind of mouth, that shark's teeth, on the Warthog. So I ordered that shark's teeth off Amazon. You can get them in different sizes. You can get them all the way down to model aircraft. I ordered a 10-inch shark's mouth and a 12-inch shark's mouth, and I think the 10-inch is going to fit here better. It's a vinyl sticker. It's the replica of the P-40 Warhawk, because of the way it was painted on the front of the aircraft. Lines up a little better with what I'm going to do. But it's very similar to the Warthog A-10 nose art. It's a vinyl sticker. I'll make a stencil, and I've been watching YouTube on how to paint on fabric, so I am going to make a video of me painting the teeth on the shark's mouth on the side of my canopy here. So I hope that all makes sense to you. I want this man, there's a lot of traffic out here this morning. I'm riding next to a paved road, but I'm riding in the dirt. I'm headed to a destination, one of my most favorite places to ride. I'm gonna go in the dirt, and I'm gonna take you guys out there. But just on the way, I've been planning this for weeks. It took forever for my nose art to come in. I don't think anybody works out here. I think they drive around all day. I'm retired. I'm allowed to be out screwing off. Anyway, that shark's mouth was actually invented or started with the Luftwaffe in World War II on their aircraft first, as far as I know. And the Americans liked it so much that they started using it in World War II. Kind of took it over. So there's a lot of shows on about nose art on YouTube. The Air War Museum and all those places, they do specials about nose art and how it came about and who did it and why and where and when and all that good stuff. Some of it got a little risque in World War II, especially on the bombers. Those young airmen were 18, 20-year-old, flying those B-17s and those flying fortresses off to their deaths. A lot of those boys didn't come home. They were young and they just loved to paint beautiful women on the front of their aircraft. I'm not sure the Air Force would let them do that now because everybody's so politically correct, but back in those days, they let them do what they needed to do because those boys were going off to die. And they knew it. Whatever made them happy. And that's what made them happy. Nose art. I kind of get it. I don't know if I'd paint a nude woman on the front of my airplane, but some of the stuff like that shark's teeth I really liked, and a top hat, the flying triple nickel. That's a 555 fighter squadron, the wing. My unit had the Roadrunner with the flying dicky with the sun, the Mexico Zia symbol. We were affectionately called the Enchilada Air Force, home of the tacos. That was our call sign, taco. But this trike reminds me of an A-10 Warthog because it's down in this desert. Just brat. It's in this stuff right here. I'm out in this stuff riding, and that's what an A-10 does. You might see an A-10 flying up in here, especially on the other side of that mountain because there's a gunnery range out there. And sometimes I hear these fighters flying overhead. If you get over the top of that mountain range, Holloman Air Force Base is there. And the other day I went out there and they were flying F-16s off that runway. And they used to fly the stealth out there, but sometimes I see A-10s out there. And you see Black Hawks out there, helicopters all the time. So I'm gonna make a video of me putting that nose art on here. The tigers, flying tiger style of the shark's mouth. It's kind of confusing, but it's a shark's mouth is what the painting actually looks like. They flew it on a lot of aircraft, and including currently they fly it on the A-10 Warthog. The actual name of that airplane is not a Warthog, it's a Thunderbolt 2. And like everything, we name our aircraft after what it reminds us of. I know when we flew the A-7, we called that they called that the Bumblebee. They had different names for it. It was kind of an uglier aircraft, but I thought it looked cool. So this fatty, let's get out of my canopy. So I'm going to close the canopy. I'll show you what I'm going to put it. That's shark's mouth. Somehow I'm going to put it right in here. I'll finish out all this lacing where you don't really see it. This will be all covered up, finished out. Right now it's all laced in and glued in, and I've got to finish working it. But when I paint that nose art, it's going to go right in here, that tiger's mouth. If I don't like it, I can always paint it all black again. I can change it back. That's my plan. And I might say Warthog across the back here, because that's what it reminds me of. It's out here in this desert. That's what it reminds me of. We're out here in the desert. It reminds me of aircraft. That's the mission of the Warthog. To go out into the deserts and find the tanks and bust them. To find stuff out there, flying in the canyons low and heavy. That's what this does. That's what this Warthog does. She's my fat tad Warthog. She's my little warty, my little Warthog. I don't know. Why not? Why not do that? Why not do that? Make my rig, my girl. Out here in the desert. We're riding the desert. You hear me? Ain't nobody hear me out here. The Oregon Mountains. It's kind of a little breezy this morning, kind of cold. But I ride every day. Unless it's really cold, I ride every day. Yep, that's what I do. I ride and think. Man, this thing is a beast. This is my Warthog. Tell you. Come on now. Let's go, girl. Woo! Woo! That's my Warthog. Can't tell me this ain't a good. Ain't many trikes that do this. I see other guys riding. There's a guy, I don't know where he's from. He's riding a tie fly. He puts his out in the crap too. I'd like to go ride with him. Southern Tracker. That big old boy out there in Arkansas. I need to get his rear end out here to New Mexico and ride in the thorns and put his trike in this stuff. I know that other old boy's challenging them all the time. I'm gonna challenge you too, Southern Tracker. I invite you to come and stay with me in New Mexico. Come ride with me out here. Wow! You tell them I'm coming and hell's coming with me. You might see a chupacabra out there somewhere. I ain't scared. People say there's chupacabras out there, but this Warthog, I'll bust that chupacabra. I'll run it down and run it over. Come on now. Yeah. Woo! Look at that. That's where this thing shines, right here in this desert, in this crap. Anyway, shark's mouth's going on the nose. I'm I'm gonna put that nose art up here on the front of my new affectionately named Warthog, my fatty Warthog, my fatty Tadpole Warthog. How many nicknames can I call this thing? I am going to figure this out. I'm gonna trace it out and make me a stencil, and I'm gonna put it up here. And I've learned on YouTube how to paint on fabric, and I bought all the materials, and I'm gonna put that up here and paint it. It's gonna be white, red, and then the black that it has is already up here. I might have to accent it in some kind of gray or something to make it work. We're gonna do that. Let's head back to the house. I'll warp drive it. I'll warp drive us back to the house in my Warthog. I'm gonna call it Warp Drive instead of Warp Drive. Warp! Warp Drive. Let's warp drive it. Now that was a fun ride. I enjoyed that ride more than any ride I've had on a trike yet. Out in the desert, on my new Warthog, my tank buster, out there on the boondocks, just tearing it up. I had a good time. Now let's go work on the nose art. We're gonna do that. So I talked about the P-40 Warthog nose art. I ordered this off Amazon. You can get them in multiple sizes, all the way down to little models, all the way up to, I saw a 2 foot. You can put them on whatever you, boats and everything. This is the P-40 Warthog Tiger, Flying Tiger style of shark's teeth. So it's a Flying Tiger, but it's got shark's teeth on it. So I took this and I'm developing a stencil. These are vinyl, and I couldn't find stencils. I could only find vinyl printouts. So I took a razor blade and and scissors, and I cut all this shape out, and I made a template that looks like this. And this is going to go somewhere up in here. And then I have the teeth that I cut out. I'll put that up there and I'll trace it out. I thought about making a template to spray paint with, but I'm real leery about spray painting on fabric. I've never painted on fabric before, so I'm gonna hand paint this on there. If it doesn't work out, I'll just paint it black and try something else, but that's what I'm planning on doing. and then the eyeballs right here. Anyway, let's do this together. We're gonna experiment. That's what I do. Oh, I got me a marker for writing on fabric, because I'm gonna hand do this. Sort of like pinstriping. That's what I do, a pinstripe. I'm an artist. Okay, I've got to get this. I'm gonna tape this on there. Somewhere like that. I'm thinking. Should work. Should work. That was a lot of work to build these, to start spray painting people. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. I'm gonna try this basting spray. It's for getting stuff to stick to fabric. Something like that. And then the eyeball goes right there. Now I gotta put these teeth up in here. Okay, I'll basting spray the teeth like dentures and put them in the, hey. I don't think it has to be perfect. I just need something that's going to be close to where I need to be. I bet my mom knows. She's a quilter. She's probably watching this video saying, son, why did you do it that way? Heck, I don't know. I looked on the YouTube, Mom, to see if anybody had ever painted shark's teeth on their trike. It says it works best on, light colored fabrics. Let's see, I'm gonna try something like this. It's not as easy as I thought it was going to be. I think I'll need to do multiple coats. Well, y'all, I think that's it for this side. So now this is personalized to me. It's no longer a fat tad, now it's a fat tad warthog. I invented a new fat tad. Warthog. Get down and dirty in the dirt. Anyway, like and subscribe. Oh, I like it. Some of you will, some of you won't. That's what's nice about this. It's mine and I can do what I want. Right, folks. Shark's mouth. U.S. Air Force. Faux rivets. Warthog. I think that's a wrap on this. Well, folks, I think I'm done. This is my tribute to the men in blue. U.S. Air Force. Comrades. U.S. Air Force. My panel, Shark's Mouth. Faux rivets. And the name of my beast is the Warthog. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.